I finished reading Alloy of Law. I actually already started Shadows of Self, and even though I'm sick, I thought I needed to get this video done, or at least recorded, so that I don't completely forget what happened in Alloy of Law. Sorry, that was my stomach growling because I haven't had breakfast yet. Isn't this video just starting off so wonderfully? Since, no, 3 hours into Shadows of Self. So, I thought it was a really good book. Didn't feel like Mistborn Era 1 at all. It's 300 years after the Mistborn Era 1, and it follows this guy named Waxilium. Like, what kind of name is that? I told my sister a little bit about the story. She'll never read it. And she was like, Waxilium, that sounds gross. And I'm just like, I mean, when I first started listening to the story, I'm like, Wax. Like, who names their kids Wax? But it's a fantasy story, right? So you get used to pretty much anything. And I actually really like him. And I feel like I'm reading a Western. I've never read a Western, so take that with a grain of salt. But it feels like Wax is a gunslinger, lawman guy. I don't know if lawman is like what we call them, but that's what they call them in Alloy of Law. I don't know. And it's really cool. He's a coin shot and a ferrochemist. Yes, ferrochemist. Yes. He's a lawman. And then he ends up going to do his duty to help the family, basically. He has to be the heir of the family. But his family is, like, running out of money. But then, like, something happens. It kind of feels like a detective story, Western. It was really interesting for me. So I think they call this a steampunk, where you have trains, there's horses, there's even guns, and I don't usually read books with like guns and shooting and blah blah blah, but like, of course, with the magic, it makes it even better. It makes it just a lot better. And it's really interesting. I usually like swords and castles and, I don't know, like the medieval vibe, but this was really cool. Different setting. And I loved Wax's sidekick. That's what I'm gonna call him. Wayne. I love that it's called Wax and Wayne too. That's just really fun. But Wayne is just so funny. I love the vibe there. It's just hilarious. Like, he's just a really funny character. I love how acerbic Wax is to Wayne, but they have like this this bond. It's so good. So good. I also really like Marasi. She's like this character, and I don't know what I can say that isn't spoiler free, but I really like her too. Steris, we don't really get a lot of Steris, but you'll see, like, there are moments where the scenes with her are even funnier than with Wayne, which is like the sidekick, comedic relief thing. But just wait till you meet Steris. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. How would I rate this book? I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars. 4 stars. I really enjoy it. Like, anything 3 and above, I feel like I'm pretty good with. Like, that's my star rating system. And 4, it's not a 5. Definitely not. It doesn't have the weight of the world on it. Like, Stormlight Archive or Mistborn Era 1, or like, oh my goodness, the whole world is doomed if this doesn't happen. Like, it doesn't have that weight to it. And I kind of really like that. It was pretty refreshing. But at the same time, like, I feel like the payoff wasn't as good. Yeah. I mean, Brandon Sanderson did write the story on a kind of whim without like really planning it, and so I'm hoping that Shadows of Self is a little better. And yeah, I honestly think that it was a good story. I really enjoyed. Now, let's get into spoilers, because I really want to talk about a few things, okay? Spoiler warning. Stop the video right here. I was really disappointed in Marcy and Wax, and like Wax basically rejecting Marcy. I'm like, oh! So I kind of accidentally spoiled this for myself because I went on Reddit and somebody mentioned like how they love like Wax and Steris's relationship, and I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean you like Wax and Steris? I've seen a lot of people online in the Cosmere like, oh, we love Steris. I love Steris. Steris is one of my favorite Cosmere characters. I'm like, why? Like, she's really funny. Like, I love the scenes with her. I just start laughing so much. But at the same time, I'm like, Marcy really liked Wax. And, like, they had all these, like, scenes with tension and blah, blah, blah. And they're just like, oh, I'm here for it. And I was kind of sad about that. I was like, I don't know. It kind of made me think of Elantris. Okay, spoilers for Elantris. No, not Elantris. Warbreaker. You know how Ciri goes to marry the God King instead of Vivenna? I was like, okay, so Wax is supposed to be engaged to Steris, but what if he falls in love with Marcy? Kind of gives that like sister love triangle vibe, and I was like, oh, is that what's going to happen? Ew. But then no, we get to book 2. There's a spoiler for book 2. It's a very slight spoiler, just about Marcy. Like, she's trying, she basically Wax rejected her, and she's like, okay, fine, you reject me, okay, let's move on then. Let's completely move on. And I'm like, I love Marcy. Marcy is like one of my favorite characters, honestly. So she's ready and willing to like just let's move on. Whereas like Wax was like, oh, I don't want to give her the wrong impression, etc., which I totally respect. And I'm just like, okay, love triangle is dead, but then I need more Steris and Wax. I don't understand what's going on. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know why I'm expecting romance in Brandon Sanderson books. It's not a good idea. Back to book 1. I like this idea of like compounding and like twinborn. I kind of thought twinborn, like before I read it, would be like, oh, they can actually use 2 metals for Allomancy. But no, it's like 1 Allomantic power and 1 Ferrochemist power. I always feel really weird saying that. Wait, should I have said ferrochemical? Maybe that's better. Adding this kind of mix really developed the magic system for me, and I'm not one of those people that remembers all the different surges for Stormlight or all the different powers and all the different metals and blah blah blah. Like, I just kind of like follow along, just experience it. I know what a coin shot is, obviously, because Wax is a coin shot, but like I always forget like what does what and what they're called. And you know, I love how Brandon Sanderson actually kind of like reminds readers like me, like what is that? What is that? Tell me again. I forgot. Like I don't have the encyclopedia. I don't want to read the Coppermind, because sometimes, though I do like spoilers for myself, sometimes I don't. And like I always like find spoilers that I don't end up liking. Yeah. I honestly just really liked this so much better than Arrow 1. I felt compelled to read Arrow 1 because it was like felt really important for the Cosmere and everybody was talking about it, but like I don't know, like even though it was more epic and there was like all of this weight and like I don't know, I didn't like the characters, I don't like the pacing. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not the biggest fan of Kelsier or Vin. Like Ellen is the only one that I kind of like, that I remember, and maybe Sazed kind of, but like, I don't know. I did enjoy the plot, but like I didn't feel connected, and it just felt so long. And so I really like Era 2. I'm really enjoying it much better than Era 1, but I still like Stormlight better. Just my opinion. Yeah, overall I really enjoyed it. Honestly, that's all I really want to talk about for this book. It was great. It was great. I enjoyed it. Now I'm reading Shadows of Self, and people say that as the books progress, the better it will be. So I'm kind of just really banking on that. But I mean, it still gets 4 stars from me. Maybe I should use a 10-star system. It got 8 stars. That way I can use like 9 or 10 stars. Does that make sense? Maybe I should just say 4.5. Anyway, that's it from me. EM Goldilocks, signing off.